What's up, BC? How we living there? Where to even begin? I guess I was in Chicago. Why was I in Chicago? A dear friend of mine, like a brother to me, Philip, got married. Lovely wedding. Best to you and yours. May it be a fantastic marriage with no hiccups that lasts until you pass away of old age. Alright, I mean that sincerely, but you guys probably don't know Phil, so let's move along. Snuck in a meetup. That was pretty cool. Most of the wedding was really, most of the trip, long weekend in Chicago, St. Charles area, revolved around being a groomsman in said wedding. So didn't get to go as much flipping as I wanted to. I was warned by multiple people that prices are high in Chicago proper. That proved to be totally correct. Had to leave some things behind. But nonetheless, some things snuck through the gap. Happy to have found them. So these are the finds for that. I don't know if this is a mega haul, but this isn't quite one of my routine rigmarole 5 fresh finds. But some things will be routine rigmarole, like the drink of the night. This is Freitgeist. Offenschneider? Alright. Hoppy, German style, Hefeweizen ale. This remains from a beer bought in North Carolina at Tip Top Daily Market. Fucking love that place. Cheers to you, Tip Top. Cheers to you, Vinyl Community friends. That's pretty tasty because I like hops, but everything doesn't have to be some hoppy as salt on your palate. So that's pretty tasty without being some obnoxious IPA. So you guys are gonna tell by the thumbnail you clicked on this video that there's a meetup. Probably not as grandiose as Dave Local Brandography made the voyage out to California. Met up with our friends Andrew, Tales from the Crate, and Sherv, Julius Jabbar, and some individuals from Facebook groups and etc. I don't know, but he seemed to have had a swell time, so that's awesome. We managed to do a little bit of the same in Chicago with friends. Before I get to that, here's a silly little find. If you guys have 10 inches, you know, it's a freaking nuisance. Sometimes you're lucky enough that they come with a sleeve, but a lot of times not. Am I going to go out of my way to buy a 25 pack of sleeves? Nay, indeed not. Don't need that many. Nor do I want to tack on the exorbitant price for buying them one at a time or whatever when you buy a bulk thing. So here's a random little weird thing. Groomsman, bought a suit, matching tie, matching pocket square. So with said matching pocket square came a sleeve, much like a Blake sleeve. So I collect them. This is how much of a nerd I am. I collect them from all the groomsmen because they're just gonna trash. They make the perfect 10-inch sleeve. So there's a Sun Ra for you, a weird little thing that some people would scoff at, but if you're a vinyl record collector and you have some 10 inches, you can probably relate to never wanting to buy 10-inch sleeves. Stumble a handful for free. And it gave me an excuse to show an array of music. So, there it is. Alright, so Keff Kempin is an absolute gem. Love that guy. We text occasionally, have phone calls, wish each other Merry Christmas, Happy Thanksgiving, all that rigmarole, right? So he works a lot, I work a lot. Neither one of us make as many videos as we used to. But nonetheless, the affection's there. Great fucking dude. So I hit him up when this first popped off, and I was like, "Hey, dude, I'm going to Chicago for a wedding." He's like, "I'll be there." Things changed around, COVID, wedding got pushed back, yada yada yada. Plane delays, etc., etc. Dude was still awesome. He picked us up, chauffeured us around town. He took Veronica and I out to have a cake and a shake, because that's Chicago fat boy food. Although I did have water, so I was being very responsible. So that was rad. He took us to our first location, which I'll just get into, right? So actually, interrupt myself. The spin for the night, Johnny Thunders. Ryan Kidd, the kid, he's a freaking good dude out there. We talked about this in High Octane Revival Garner's channel. So this is number 892 of 1500, but it's in yellow, so who knows if there's a 1500 more in red and 1500 more in black and 1500 more in white. I don't know. This seems appropriate. Kicks off with Pipeline. and then maybe I'll make sense of it when I start showing shit. So the first place I met up with Jeff was chauffeur and Veronica and I, and we ended up at Dusty Groove. That's supposed to be the go-to spot. A little pricey. I had to leave some things behind. For example, I happen to have this next to me. This Fear More Beer. They had this for twice the price and not quite the condition as I got it recently. This is the follow-up. They had a debut for the same price. I just had to leave it behind. I'll stumble on it one of these days. So that was a little bit pricey. Left all the jazz behind. Some of the soul and funk was just grossly overpriced. I left a little Walter behind that I was keen on, but it had a deep groove scratched into it. I wonder if you could even play it all the way through. The price was reflected on that one, but still had to let that go. Yada, 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 but I stumbled into some shit I like. So, one reason I always get stoked to go to the Midwest, and I always get stoked to go to the beach besides the trip itself, is surf and drag. Alright, so the car culture was strong in the Midwest where they built the cars, they built all the car parts, yada, yada, yada. Everyone had a lot of pride in those vehicles, and of course, anywhere near the beach, coastline, surf and drag, music remains, right? So, I stumbled in that, right? Dusty Groove. That's the location. Jeff and I pulled up with Veronica, and already there was Vance Zeppearl. Links will be listed, and Lovell Andrews. So super good dudes, right? I hang out in a couple of different live streams with Vance on a regular basis, and Lovell as well. And Lovell and I always comment on each other's videos. He's very jazz centric, but people might not realize this dude has a bank of knowledge in music, a multitude of music. We're talking all about all sorts of things and having a really good conversation. Really cool, slick cat. Liked him a lot. Vance, also a great dude. We have Sox connection, Chicago sports connection, although I'm not a Bears fan, I'm a Packers fan. Live in Wisconsin, little kid, losing people by the second. What I grabbed. One thing I had to grab was this JFA. Now, when I first found this, and this is, I guess, why I segued with the Johnny Thunders, because we got punk meets surf and drag in a way. There's a crossover. I'll get to it, right? So when I first saw this, I was like, man, I was talking to the guys. I was like, I just gotta know what kind of fucking nonsense is on an album cover like that. Look at this, just like 80s, late 70s style, just average body bros wrestling in a cage. So I was so like captivated by that. I was like, man, I need to look into this, right? And then, you know, after there, I walk away and I kind of just banked this, and I kind of had this in my hand, like, okay, if I find some stuff, maybe this will go back on the shelf, but for now, this is a keeper. I guess I wasn't registering it because it's black and white, and I was captivated by this ridiculous image, but after holding it for a little bit, I was like, oh, you dumb turd, do you have no memory from your teen years? So this JFA, Jodie Foster's Armory, I remember this because my boy Ian, when I was a kid, had this in like a neon lime green on the bottom of his skateboard with a multitude of other stickers, right? So I used to hang out with a bunch of skater kids amongst other walks of life when I was a kid. And, man, I forget what late 80s album I most associated this band with. It was in color. It's like something like, it's so hard when music's playing to think of other shit. I'm not good at these videos at all. Thanks for watching if you're actually here, though. But, it's something like Natural Blossoms or something. Does not sound like a punk album, but California-based skater punk, surf punk. And I guess this is where the crossover comes, where I was kind of relaying like how punk fits into surf and drag, if that makes sense, right? This Charlie Brown. Dude, this is a straight up like fucking surfer riff. It's cool. Instrumental, if I'm not mistaken. This is the EP, 4 tracks. There are vocals on this. At some point, I know JFA over their years, someone's kind of like snotty shouting a little bit of it, if I recall right, has a little bit of Sex Pistols, vocals worship, but I might be tweaking that in my mind. Ryan Kidd and Vinyl Richie or whoever else is deeper into punk might want to correct me on the history of JFA, but I'm reconnecting with something that I listened to a whole bunch as a kid, but never really owned, that was always in the mix. So it's kind of cool to own music I grew up on to a certain extent, but was never in my collection back in the day, whether it was CD or cassette or whatever, but undeniably listened to romping around with fools like me when I was a kid. So I copped this EP. And the segue was what I was talking about, right? So how does punk tie into surf and drag and everything. Everything has origins. For example, this Johnny Thunders. I was talking about Ryan Kidd. Probably going around in circles here. None of this makes sense, but that's how I roll. It's bedtime. Kicks off a pipeline. Is what it is. And you get into us a little bit, you know, of the nitty-gritty business. But there's undeniably surfer-style tendencies on this, as well as that. And here's a comp I purchased to kind of further that notion. And man, maybe I need someone too, like John, Bip Bop Boom. He's deep into knowledge on this. So this is Cruising the Drag. Rip out these outer sleeves. By the way, horrendous stickers. They ruin it. Just sticky tacky pile of shit. Stickers. But hey, I'm happy that they put them on the protective sleeve. So Cruising the Drag. This has the Sonics on it, which is, if you guys don't know, that's like the origins of punk rock. Flash Terry's on here. The Crowns. That's one I've been looking for. The Vibes. Multiples of those. Looks like it was. You see how they kind of share their sleeves right there. This would have been on 78. But gives a rundown and a breakdown of all this Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yada yada yada. I guess that's where Wheel Records comes from. So here's a comp of old school, kind of like rockabilly tinged surf and drag, if that makes sense. So more 50, think like 50s kind of doo-wop, doo-woppy soul, old school label, really clean. This is like sub $10. This is very reminiscent to a lot of the old surf records I collect. But a comp I couldn't help but buy. Who knows how well I'm describing it. But so here's a little bit of the cliche, so let me get it out of the way. It's fucking Jan and Dean. Forgive me for swearing. Bedtime vocabulary declines, but it is what it is. I'm showing Jan and Dean because it's been a gap. Struggle to find records like this in South Carolina in the foothills of the mountains. Was stoked to have found it. I know right here that, you know, obviously surf and drag by the via the car and surfboards. This one's definitely more on the surf spectrum. Not so much on the car-oriented bravado. Still a cool track. Cool tracks on this. Good stuff. Clean. Not too expensive. Kind of cliche. Shouldn't be as hard as it was for me to find, but I like to find things in the wild. But I just knocked it off the list. What's not super common is the tokens. Let's go to the drag strip. Some more surf and drag. Like I say, I always get stoked when I go to the beach. Happy when I go to the Midwest because I just know these are the things I'm going to slowly knock off, right? Hot rod music, it's a gas. Fantastic pun. This is 1964 on that RCA Dynagroove. So it has a little bit of a haze on there. It needs a better white clean. I like also on that label, it has here Hugo and the Ouija producers with a little custom logo, if you can see that. I don't know how well it's going to show up. My face is in the way. It's fantastic. This is a quick breakdown without having me get into reading this too much. You like souped up cars? You'll like this music. You like to dance? You'll like this music. If all you like to do is sit and vibrate, these are your sounds. So hey, sit and vibrate with me to this shit. It's pretty legit. So it gives a little rundown. The tokens, if you didn't know, are 5 teenage types from Brooklyn. Hank, Madress, Jay Siegel, Phil Margo, Mitch Margo, and Joe Veneri. Anyways, bunch of teenage type guys. But yeah, they look like doofballs. But maybe this rips. I have not listened to this one since streaming it once upon a time ago. Not a common find. Super happy to have found it. Someone upgraded the original paper sleeve in there, but it has this doo-doo, beat up, destroyed paper sleeve. By the way, here's a top tip. If you're really gung-ho on saving these, but someone jammed in there and they just all sorts of terrible and crunchy, hey man, light steam and put your iron on low. You can totally get that nonsense out of the way and not necessarily restore it, but return it to a manner in which you can slide it in out of your record sleeve without it being a nuisance. But the cliches on here, Little Deuce Coupe, everyone covered it, Shut Down, 409, Drag City, but also songs like Little Snow White Coupe, My Candy Apple Vet, My Friend's Car, Dirt Track Twister, My First Set of Wheels, Two Cars, and let's go to the drag strip. A lot of times, one of these guys, all the surf and drag, they all kind of covered each other. A lot of times, the kickoff track would be their wannabe go-to hit or their original music, or by original, the same group of writers that wrote for all these other artists that all covered each other. But fantastic cover, clean condition. Been aware of this for a while, but never expected to find it. Was happy to do so in Chicago. And by the way, Dusty Grooves, who were a little bit pricey on a lot of their stuff, have no real appreciation for surf and drag, so I scored there. Before I flip the record, let me get to this business. Whew. This is a hot one, in my opinion. And by the way, oh man, I was talking about blaxploitation with Lovell, and he just seemed to like, oh, you don't have that? Like, this dude takes for granted, I don't know, I want to say it like that. Not takes for granted his records, but takes for granted how easy it is, maybe where he is in record shows or whatever, or how long he's been collecting that. He's apparently compiled quite a blaxploitation collection. Mine's getting pretty deep, but it's always a work in progress. I did not have this one. So Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, Jim Kelly, Three the Hard Way. What a freaking gem of a movie. This is sealed. So I ponied up a little bit for this. I mean, it's not insane, but ponied up for it in the sense that maybe a lot of people wouldn't have paid any kind of money for this, but I was stoked. It's got a unnecessary ugly double punch in the corner, and they did it right over the distributed by Buddha Records. This is still sealed. When I finally get around to doing the Brother Brody combo video of my blaxploitation collection, I'll break the seal on this because I'm curious if it has the Oh So Pretty Curdom label, or if this is a Buddha Records label. But this is like circa 74-ish, so I assume that this is post, even though this is on the Curdom label with Curtis Mayfield, I assume this is when he's done as the lead vocalist or a member of the Impressions. So I want to say that this is, I'm going to forget his name, it's going to kill me, because I have flipping the record on my mind, but back in a jiff. Record is flipped, back in the mix. So I'm assuming this regain whatever train of thought I had. Leroy Hudson. This is, look at this. Crispy, clean copy in the Shrinky Shrink. And once again, Curdom label, one of the prettiest labels in the history of history. Personal opinion. But I'm assuming this is the era of the Impressions. They went on another lead singer. I can't recall. This is about 73. It's about 74. So that's that. Blaxploitation. Super dope. After that, we hoofed it. We put in some legwork that day. I went everywhere from Union Station to the Metro, planes, trains, automobiles, all in one day. It's pretty fantastic. But man, the four of us from the VC, and then Veronica, who was an absolute trooper, hanging out with a bunch of bros, talking about just dumb. I mean, Jeff and I were nerding out about comic books before we ever even started talking about records, and then everyone got together, and Vance and Lovell and I and Jeff were all talking about records, just being nerds. And we stopped at a record store on the way that, I'm gonna be honest with you, I completely forgot the name. Between the four of us, nobody bought anything at that store. Grossly overpriced. I'm probably glad I don't know their name because I don't need to slander them. If you are in Chicago in that region, you're gonna probably be better off at the two places I went. All right, one of those two places, Reckless Records, and apparently they are on West Belmont, East Madison, and North Milwaukee. I can't recall which one's which, but whatever one's closest to Dusty Groove or got off. Also, this is fantastical. There's a 7-cent tax when you ask for a bag for your records. So this 7 cents, well spent. As for the records, man, I didn't really hurt the wallet too bad or go as hard as I usually do, flipping around in a lot of stores. So I went in there, willing to buy more, and like say some things I just had to leave behind. Man, I'm a nerd for soundtracks, but they had like a Three Amigos, and they had man, I got to recall what it is, but I'd never seen either of them. They were nostalgic and they were fun and they were kind of doofy and quirky. But one was like $25 and one was $30. They were just grossly overpriced. One soundtrack that wasn't. This is like, I think, $4. It looks like someone peeled off an old school pink promo sticker. So I got to get rid of this haze residue. But if you can't tell the colors in my background, I rotate different pop culture nonsense to frame and keep my room fresh here in the living room. But this is fantastic because it's a fucking gauntlet. It's Clint Eastwood. Just legs just swole. Apparently, Clint was really into leg day at that time, right? So this chick's got her clothes just tatted the right way. I don't know who survived or got through this whole issue. The front of this bus or subway just bullet hole riddled, and he only needs a revolver. 6 shots. He's gonna make it count. No need for magazines. He's just doing it. So $4 well spent. Cover alone. But I'm trying to recall if this is like a 70s kind of synthy laser orchestral nonsense. I'm trying to recall the score in my mind, and I'll probably give it a spin as I'm taking another record off the wall before I put this one on. But there's songs such as the Boxcar Incident, the Pickup, the Black Sedan. So key iconic songs such as those. But this also directed by Clint Eastwood. So it's just the start of all these other fantastic movies he made. You can really see the origins of $1 Million Baby and whatnot. Too long spent on that. All right, now this is gonna make me feel like it. This made me feel like a damn fool. I'll be honest with you. So we met up. Glad I saw this, so I didn't forget someone. Another Jeff at Burnout Shelter. I forget what his channel name was previously. I wish he made more videos because he's way more concise than I am. He's to the point. He's extremely knowledgeable, and he pointed this out. I think this was $2, and it kind of blew my mind because I was like, I was aware of Graham Parker and the rumor. Never listened to him a whole bunch. Just kind of aware of it. New wave. Don't have that strong of an opinion. What I've heard I've liked, but it's just never something I've dove into. But so he was showing me this, and then Keff Kempin walks by, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, no, that's a good album. That's really cheap. $2." So I look it up, and man, I hate to just like recycle Wikipedia, but I look up on Wikipedia, like learn a little bit something about this, so I'm not just a total asshole. I know about these other things, but apparently this is like 300 something other of the Rolling Stone Top 500, and I'm just like, yeah, I kind of know it. So feel like a turd, but for $2, I'm going to discover, apparently, one of the best albums ever. So, $2, there it is. Also, this is one thing that's kind of cool. You know me, I hate, when I first saw this, I was like, damn, I can't even buy this record, man. This is total nonsense. How could he do this? I peeled all these away. These peel away super easy, right? But Burnout Shelter Jeff was also like, hey, dude, you got to check this out. This is Human Sexual Response. And he described it as, he's like, dude, what did he say? This is like, think of television, but more juvenile. So, okay. I was like, enough said. This is also, it's like $4. It's on Eat Records. I wish it had that center label, because I'll be honest with you. One thing that I never have much faith in, when I see this Passport label, I'm pretty much like, that's going to be a snoozer. You know, that Passport label, man, except for like Wendy O. Williams, which actually scored that record recently. I'm just not too good at making videos nowadays. I wish it was on this Eat label right there, because I don't have much faith when I see that Passport label for anything to rock. But this says right here, the best record made by this promising bad. Figure 14 has the comic, campy qualities that made Human Sexual Response such a fun band, including Jackie Onassis and screwy cover of Cool Jerk. What's that? The Capitals, or is that Archie Bell and the Drells? Blah, 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 blah. Who cares? It's a classic piece of early 80s new wave rock. Allmusic.com is who they're quoting. And yeah, you can see this was $5.99. So based on a recommendation and the fact that this album's called Human Sexual Response, and there's 2 kiddos finger banging green jello, so be it. Let's figure out what it's all about. But yeah, some $6 new wave for you right there. And the next one, you know, like I say, I'm a sucker for these old soundtracks and nerd stuff, right? Sometimes they end up on the wall. Sometimes they're just really cool comps, and it's better than playing the radio. Sometimes it's like these blaxploitation albums are like, it's really a Curtis Mayfield album, or it's a Roy Ayer album, or it's a insert whoever, Marvin Gaye album. But this one right here, Death Wish 2, I was just looking at it, I was like, $15? It's in the shrink. It's super clean. But I kind of, I was half paying it mine, and, I was flipping through and talking to like 5 guys at once. And before I, gave it a better look, Vance, if you don't know, huge Led Zeppelin fan. And I don't want to spoil anything, because I assume it will end up in a video of his. He found a Russian? I think it was Russian, maybe a Slovakian or whatever, bloc Soviet country. But he had found his Black Sabbath 4. Where it was like gridded out the box and had like a foreign script on it. I just thought it was so freaking cool, man. I would have copped that if he didn't land it first. So good for him. But so he chirped in. He's like, "Hey, dude, that's Jimmy Page." And I was like, "Dude, what?" And I was like, because you're just thinking about it as a soundtrack. You don't associate anything. I hadn't got to yapping with him, but then I see right about the time he says that, I see that the Swan Song label. If you guys remember that from Led Zeppelin fame, but then once again, like I say, there's that iconic image of the sans penis angel, because apparently angels don't fornicate. Why would you? Heaven's good enough. But their rundown, I'm about to peel these off, but I figured, I'd leave it here for now. It says Death Wish 2 soundtrack, if you didn't know. Jimmy Page, and it says 1982 post-Zeppelin project that sounds like a crazy hybrid of late Pink Floyd, Jan Hammer, The Firm, cheesy bar bands, and string orchestra thrown in the mix. Imagine Pink Floyd's Final Cut with Zeppelin in through the outdoor with Keith Jarrett and a string quartet. Odd, yes, but it works. So there's the rundown. $15. Let's see what this novelty's about. Nonetheless, I have a stupid clean copy of some pop culture goodness in the Shrinky Dinky for a 15er. So that's a real 15er. That's a real thing. There's you duct tape a 10 and a 5 together. A 15er is a real thing. So let's round it out here. Maybe I can keep this under half hour, but I'm having fun. If you guys are enjoying me ramble while I'm sleepy and not even touching my beer, now it's hot. I don't know if it's better or worse for it, but it's undeniably warmer. Started a new job recently. That deep breath just informed me there's no way in hell I'm going to keep this under 30 minutes. But I shot up to Wilmington to visit my sister. She just recently moved here. And while I did that, I made a point. I was like, man, Lisa's moving to Greenville. I don't know how often I'm going to be able to flip in Wilmington. So Veronica and I hit up 3 spots, one of which I went to with my sister Lisa. But immediately came back the very next week, started the new job. That was 2 months ago. You can see how sporadically I've been making videos. Hope to be getting in a rhythm as I'm getting a rhythm at this new job. But while I was there, I found some blaxploitation. And then I found this and rounded out my my collection of Shaft. So Shaft's big score, I guess Chicago was a big score, more or less, because a lot of these things aren't super commonplace in my area. So it's a weird burp. It's a weird burp. It's a hoppy burp. It's a hoppy burp. But Shaft's big score, it's fantastic. So I probably should have read or figured some real information to give you other than vocals here on O.C. Smith on several, and the rest I believe are all instrumental, and a lot of these have a habit of not maintaining the original lead singers that were on other ones. So Isaac Hayes would have been the original Shaft. O.C. Smith seems to be the vocalist here, and mostly instrumentals. It's kind of like O.C. Bisa did the follow-up for Superfly TNT is the sequel, which obviously is Arguably one of the best soundtracks ever of all time, and probably the best blaxploitation soundtrack, being Superfly. But none of them seem to maintain the same musician throughout sequels. But nonetheless, Shaft's big score. Stoked to have had that. Right around 30 minutes. So be it. All the guys are fantastic. Hopefully, I remember to leave links and maybe even links to whoever I might have shouted out in these videos. I freaking love you guys. Rock on. All that jazz, all that punk. And yes, punk, rockabilly, surf and drag, they all have origins that intertwine. I don't know how well I put that because it's bedtime, but I freaking like hanging out with you guys, and I talk willy-nilly when I freaking want to. So be easy, y'all. Take care.